Hello. It's the end of the week of rest, and this year I have really spent time with myself during this week. Um, by not forcing myself to have agendas and a travel itinerary and getting on planes, but really just like sitting with my very vulnerable, uncomfortable self. And when I say sitting with my vulnerable, uncomfortable self, it's not in a meditative position and waiting for some kind of uh, divine epiphany to occur to me. But I've faced, um, I would say, with openness, something that has been a big challenge for me in my life for the longest time that I can remember. And that question is self love. Self love that you read so much about and that you hear so much about. I'm having goosebumps as I'm saying this, and you're surrounded with all of this content that talks about self love and valuing yourself and knowing yourself and keeping yourself at the center of it and having a goal. And on one hand, it's all of that, and then on the other hand, I see all these sappy emotional videos about, like, I don't know, a mother and father relationship, a marriage, a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and it's like friendships. And to me, that has been so perplexing because in my life, I I can hardly ever say that I've been the center of my life. Even though every action I have taken has been around what I wanted and what I thought were my goals and what I thought was who I am, I'm arriving at this point in my life realizing that I don't even know who I am. And it might look like I don't have a grip on myself because you're supposed to be defined by this age. You're supposed to be defined 3 decades plus of life. Like, you're supposed to know a thing or two about yourself. And I do know a thing or two about myself, but self love is such a vulnerable thing for me. And I speak vulnerable not very loosely, but um, I don't know what self love is. So I'm exploring this, and as I'm exploring it, I'm realizing that my whole life has revolved around something or somebody or someone. I think as a young child, I protested or rebelled or questioned a lot of the cultural norms of how our culture was built, of everything that I saw in our culture, and my gender, the religion, the community, the stereotypes that come with it. And I was so naturally driven with this kind of strong rebellion towards it. But I look back at it now and I realize that my identity then was obviously highly influenced by my parents, but also very influenced by the culture. And hence, somewhere my identity was revolving around this. Like, my parents, my mother was the center of my world, and my existence and my energy, the way I was projecting it as a young child, as a teenager, as a girl, or a tomboy rather, was in rebellion of something. So it was centered and revolving around that culture, and my whole force of life wanting to break out of it. And I know I'm not the only one, but I speak for myself. And then my and then there was a phase when it started revolving around this future goals and like what I really want to be, or this kind of like a mushy period where I really did not know who I am and what I'm doing. And then it suddenly started revolving around this person, this boy that I had fallen in love with. And it kept on continuing, to my surprise, for almost a decade. And even at the times when I was refusing that my identity does not revolve around him, I can admit to myself now that it was wrong. I was wrong. My identity was revolving around someone. Much to my surprise, and to me, it feels like it came so naturally to me to keep someone, something, some idea, some goal, some person at the center of my life where I never pursued balance and I never pursued myself at the center. So love to me was always an outward giving. There was no way of knowing what love is as taking in. Like I had like I wouldn't say I had zero expectations from the person, because of course I had expectations, which is what came in and created conflict. But I would say I had zero understanding of I am at the center of my life. This is what I expect and I want and I respect and I value in my life. And wherever it doesn't serve me, I'm going to take myself and remove myself from there. And I'm going to not feel a big hole in my stomach, like a pit in my, like a kick in my gut. And I'm not going to feel guilt or sadness. No, I can pretend to put up a show and say that I don't feel all of this, but that is not true, because I have spent a lot of time feeling guilty, feeling sad, feeling resentment. I have spent a lot of time in my life feeling unhappy, ungrateful, truly feeling sadness at the core of me, and hence then being harsh on myself for even feeling the sadness. Um, and yeah, I still don't know what self-love is, but I've picked up a few things over the last few years, especially when I had to face COVID alone here, or at least like sort of alone. And I I have also understood, after achieving a few certain things that I had set as a goal for myself when I was young, when I have reached there where I thought I would be or would want to be, or I wanted to see if I can get there and I wanted to challenge myself, when I have arrived there, I feel this kind of, I don't want to call it emptiness because it's not emptiness, but this kind of lack of vision. And that made me realize that my vision was so limited to, despite of the fact that I had high intelligence and high intellect, I still conformed myself to visions which restricted me to only the things that either I knew I could continue to carry forward, or things that I knew I don't want to continue to carry forward and I want to break them. So amongst all of these cages that we find ourselves stuck in, whether it's a person, whether it's a dream, whether it's culture, whether it's society, whether it's our own fears, whether it's someone from school who did something to you, whether it's a I don't know, an uncle or an aunt who said something to you, whatever trauma we get, whatever we try to break out of, we still don't know what self-love is, and we still don't know how to claim that space back for your own self and sit with it. I still find myself trying to escape. I pick up hobbies and I'm doing them, and I wonder, how much are these hobbies actually really giving me joy, and how much are these things a distraction? And I will never know. But at least what I do know now is that self-love germinates in this very uncomfortable space that I'm finding myself in, where you were going and picking up parts and pieces of yourself, assimilating and making yourself whole, where you look at yourself, for some aspects of yourself, with pride, or with, at least with that validation, self-validation, that, oh wow, that's amazing. Like, I am able to tell myself now that, wow, Romana, you love so much. Like, wow, you have this amazing heart. Like, you have this really kind, forgiving heart, that you have such a huge space in your heart to love and to give and to share. But I never said that to myself. I just took that as a given. That's what you're supposed to do. And then there are parts of myself where I'm saying, oh no, I didn't give this to myself. Why is it so hard to give this love and kindness and forgiveness to self? And I'm exploring it. So really, I do not have a blanket statement to my video saying this is self-love and I've cracked it. I haven't. And I don't think I'm ever going to be able to put it in a blanket statement, because I think self-love is a journey. It's not sitting between candles. Well, if it is for you, great, yeah. And it is for me as well, to be honest. But it's not this image, this materialistic kind of cinematic image that's put in front of us through various streams and media. But I think self-love is being able to sit in this really awkward silence with yourself and say, it's okay. Have your hand on your heart and say, it's okay. I hear you and I love you. To tell your own self, I love you. How many times have you done that? I've started doing it and it feels so great to tell yourself, I really love you. From the bottom of my own heart to my own self. And it is going to be a journey. And as I'm inspired, I will share. Thank you for listening.